Welcome to Geek Squad on Joy 99.7.
Geek Squad.
Joy, 99.7 FM.
Squad. Geek Squad.
Time check is 19:08 hours. The show is Geek Squad. You're tuned in to Joy 99.7 FM. Today we're talking about the social media storm. I'm sure you probably heard about all the data breaches with Facebook, the Instagram founders leaving. WhatsApp founders have already left. You've probably seen Google Plus. There's a data breach with Google Plus too, and it's just bad. As human beings, we've already been proven to be social animals. So it goes without saying that we are going to be addicted to something like social media. And to be addicted to such technology and then not be secured or not be safe is a problem. Or is it? So we're going to have this conversation. With me in the studio is our regular Winston and Kuku Anansi. And we have KKO, Kwekuche Ofori. And today we have Dr. Kobe Mensah. Dr. Kobe Mensah's name is synonymous to social media. Anytime I hear social media, I see Dr. Kobe Mensah's name somewhere in there. Like recently someone's designing a flyer I'm looking at, I see Dr. Kobe Mensah. So I mean, it's in place to bring Doctor in. Hi, Doctor.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Before we get to the conversation proper, it's a Geek Squad, and there have been some announcements, there's been some news, and we would like to just touch on it just periodically before we move into our conversation. So Google today, about a few hours ago, announced the latest devices. The Google Pixel 3, the Pixel 3 XL, the Google Slate, and the Google Home Hub. Impressive or not? Winston, I can see your expression, and yeah, I know you're not happy, but we saw this coming.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the reason why we shouldn't even talk about it, or should we?
I mean, I'm not disappointed. We are all definitely not disappointed.
I am. I was thinking it was going to be a surprise. I thought they were throwing us a curveball.
That would be the biggest marketing surprise if they actually pulled that off.
If they had pulled that off, Google would have moved from number whatever they are on the list to like number 2 or 3.
But I don't hate the device. I just wouldn't buy it. So, yeah, let's move on.
Okay. Quick one answer, would you?
Well, not exactly.
Kweku.
I've not had time to review it yet. I've not had it. You didn't release it, right? So let's give it time to breathe and let's see. So I'll not shoot it down yet.
Doc.
Well, from branding perspective, I don't think that any device in terms of phones especially phones can actually overthrow Apple. iPhone
You just opened the largest can of worms.
I don't
in
think
this
whatever
part.
they have done would have actually toppled Apple. No.
I feel like we should move on.
And on that bombshell, we will just move straight to the conversation. So, I'm throwing this question to all of you. Are users of social networks safe? We've heard data breaches starting from history. Let's go back in time. Not before Cambridge Analytica. We'll start from Cambridge Analytica. There was this. and then all of a sudden there's a data breach. 50 million users are logged out, and 40 million extra who were assumed to have used that feature were also logged out. And some time ago, Twitter just came out and said, everybody change your passwords, we've been hacked. Snapchat has had their share. Basically, every social network has had their share of data breaches, security vulnerabilities, and all these things, putting the user at risk. Are social users of social networks safe? So I'll start first by asking Kwekwana. You are the bad guy, technically.
Well, you know my answer already. They are not.
They are not safe.
Yeah.
So, are you on
direct.
social media?
Yes, I am.
And you know we're not safe. Why are you on social media?
Well, I need that private profile so that certain things wouldn't be looked at. It's
But
very necessary.
Is it that very private?
Yes, you need to portray it as they want to see it. And then
Who are they?
We know they are spying on us. That's the social media, everything. Yes. You know how the whole thing goes. You search on something on your phone by Facebook, and then the next time when you are Googling, it gives you the exact same results back and so on. Yes.
So basically tracking cookies and all that. Kuku, Che, not Ananse. Are you on social media?
Yes, I am.
Do you believe you're safe?
Well, not entirely, but I also believe the social media companies are doing their very best to protect our data. It's just that we should also have in mind that once you put your information out there, it's out there for grabs, right? So it depends on what you put out there, and that's what people would use to market to you or use to target you, because the only way that social media is making money is using our data to market. And so that's it, because we are all using it for free.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not free because they have to use our data to make the millions or billions of dollars that they are making. And I believe the reason for the fallout in WhatsApp and everybody else walking out is that Mark Zuckerberg wants to use their data, or wants to use the data that he's harnessing from these, especially WhatsApp, to turn it into money, and they are not happy about that. So I think we'll get into that later. But yeah.
Before I get to Doc, Winston,
Yeah.
you're on social media.
Oh, yeah, I am.
All of them.
Not
I
all of
believe.
them. Not all of them.
As many as possible.
Yeah.
Are you safe? Do you feel safe?
I mean, back then, like when I say back then, I could say like 3 years ago, social media wasn't as big as it was now. Now, social media is, you can pretty much find out exactly what a person is doing in their life on social media now. It's become a virtual world, like realistically, because people put their opinions, everything that they think at any point in time on social media. So it's made data from social media more attractive, hence all the hacks. So you should be expecting a lot more of these, having to change your passwords and stuff, because now data is very important. It's what is running the marketing world, it's what's running the business world now. So are we safe? I mean, we are trying to be safe. We are.
Doc,
Yeah.
you're an expert.
Well, not exactly, but let me say that I'm not sure why we should be afraid. Now, go back down to those days when we used to have
The phone books.
that directory. It was available to everybody. Now, move down to 2007. I remember down in UK, you had over 2.5 million people's data missing through desks. The desks that's Royal Mail actually was supposed to deliver some desks with data got missing. Now, the idea that data breaches are actually rampant at this time, I don't think is true, because in the past we've had data breaches, that we're not even aware of. I remember, policies like TPS, that is telephone preference services, where, you've got to actually sign up and say, I don't want my data to be used by X and Y. Still, people were using it. I used to work with T-Mobile, Vodafone, and people were selling data, to companies, and we didn't know about that. So this is not new. I think that it's about what measures are these companies putting in place to make sure that, people are safe. And then, of course, whether they are teaching people or they are kind of giving people some training on securities and some awareness on securities. So it is not new. I think, we've got to actually do that education. Okay. But I don't think something that is new.
So basically, it's the fact that we have become smaller. The world has become smaller with the advent of the internet. Now, as I like to call it, we've become a global village. So news happens in the North Pole, and the South Pole hears it in in less than a second. So that's basically what's made it look like it's become
And of
rampant.
course, transparency. I mean, institutions have become much more transparent. We say that the internet is actually giving us democracy. So when things get missing, we get to know it immediately. Unlike those days when they get missing, government won't tell you, the agents won't tell you, and you don't know where the data is. Yeah.
So whose responsibility is it to educate the users besides the platform? For instance, I think Facebook does educate people, but that information is hidden somewhere on Facebook that not everyone would find. Isn't that reason also to be worried that they don't really want you to find this information?
Well, I suppose in a way you would spread the responsibility, across a number of places. First of all, you call on your government, because it's the responsibility of government to protect citizens, whereas citizens have responsibility towards government to make sure that they follow the rules and regulations. So you would say that the regulators of that industry, perhaps, is it NCA, National Communications Authority, would put some plans in, educating Ghanaians on how to, self-police, or how to, keep themselves safe on social media. Then you can also come down to other agencies, educational institutions, and other civil service organizations. Because when citizens are vulnerable, then of course the state is vulnerable.
Cool. Doc said we all need to put in effort to educate people, i.e., like, for instance, say the government primarily. Do you think that, like in Ghana, our government is empowered enough to even educate people on this?
I think there have been steps taken towards these processes to make people aware. I know during this month, the Ministry of Communication is doing some awareness campaigns, especially on cybersecurity, going to schools and engaging with some public agencies as well, to be able to educate them on social cybersecurity awareness and what they should do to protect themselves, their devices, so that they do not get hacked. I also think it's a two-tone approach. Citizens should also be able to understand what it is that they are doing, what information that they are giving out. It is their responsibility as well to read some of these things and be able to understand it before they give them out. So government can do its part, but citizens also have to do their part. And also these social media platforms should also be able to give us some information which is much visible to us. And policies should be able to care of it, because if you look at what's happening in Europe, they are very stern on security and also privacy issues. But in some countries where it is not, if you give them the chance, they will take advantage of it and abuse it. So I think some of our laws also have to look at these things and be able to catch up with it. And I think if you look at data protection, the lady who's heading it right now is doing an excellent job, Patricia. He's done an excellent job in that regards in making sure that the people of Ghana and Ghana itself, our data is being protected. So there is some conversation around this, and I believe if we continue in this direction, things will get better.
Do you think, I'm glad that you mentioned the EU, because we know the EU has fined Google, they fined Microsoft, even Facebook.
Yes.
Do you think our government can fine Facebook for, say, leaking its citizens' data?
Yes, they can. Of course they can. There are laws in Ghana, and if our laws, if we do find a breach, that Facebook is aware of these laws and they have chosen to breach it, then sure, of course, why can't we?
So we do have these data privacy laws.
Data Privacy Act, yes.
Acts, and then if we find out that Facebook or any other social media platform has breached these things, we can find them.
Of course, why not?
I'd like to see that happen. No, seriously, because when I heard that the EU had fined Facebook so much money, I'm thinking, oh, that's a lot of money. Like, why would Facebook pay?
Yeah, but you should understand, EU is not just the one country. Though.
Yeah, it's a whole union.
It's a whole union, and I think they are more stronger, more powerful.
But I suppose it's not about whether the government can. Of course we can, but do we have the sophistication to detect that there has been a data breach? Well, maybe we don't. And having said that, I mean, if you look at the EU, for example, there is a policy that says you have the right to be forgotten, all right? Which this gentleman in Spain pushed it, and it got to EU court, and they were given the right to be forgotten. So you can literally write to Google and say, this link, I want you to delete it. Unless, of course, it has a legal implication. Then, of course, they say they won't do it. Why is Africa not pursuing that? Because our government are not sophisticated enough to negotiate. So I agree with you that we can, but we do not have
the sophistication. What does it take to have this sophistication?
Well,
I mean, to be honest, I think the sophistication issue, after this whole Cambridge Analytica thing, we realized that even those in the West were not that sophisticated.
of course not.
So I feel like it's just awareness. When an issue arises, we will have to rise to the moment. But the question is, do we need that to happen before we become overly aware of these situations? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves.
Because I was thinking, right after watching Mark Zuckerberg appear before, Congress, and then these people ask him very, excuse me to say, sub-intelligence questions, I would think that we, the third world countries, would take a cue from this and start pushing people savvy in the areas into those spaces so they could...
You're right, because, see, those guys in Congress, these are dinosaurs when it comes when it comes to things like that.
Yeah.
And then if you extend it further down the line to us, we're beyond dinosaurs. I mean, do you think, apart from Kweku maybe and other people who probably would understand some of these things, majority of those are managing these things. I completely at sea, so how do you make use of the young guys like this to work in such institutions like NCA and other places? They can understand it, and then not only that, but equipping them with that kind of sophistication to make sure that they can push the case. But we don't. I mean, police have been occupied by very old guys.
So talking about this data breach, we're going to break down the breaches. We'll start off with Facebook's latest data breach, where some access tokens were grabbed. Quick one, Nancy, you are the hacker. What does it mean for someone to have access tokens?
Well, all these things that the communication going on are two-way. In RSA, we have those private keys that are shared.
Private keys, like my car keys or my house keys?
No, for communication. Yeah.
Okay. So people use keys in communication. You need to know that the audience listening to us probably do not understand this.
Well, okay, let's put it in this way. Like, say, for instance, your cookies,
Now you even made it worse. Okay, so basically...
cabin biscuit.
Well, it's all about maintaining your session whilst you are browsing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the same way the hacker can also maintain yours.
Okay, so basically, when you go on Facebook, you're given an access key, quote unquote, which is your token. That shows that this is, or a code, this is your login session. So people now have copies of these, quote unquote, keys that they can now log in as you.
Yeah.
Which makes it worse than just hacking a password.
So
this one, you don't need to enter any user or anything. It's a long string, and then...
Yeah. I remember back then, when you mentioned cookies, we had these cookies where we used to log into our sites as people. So it's basically the same way.
Yep.
What does this mean to the person who doesn't know that this has happened? Do I need to change my password?
Well, it seems they always see it. When you log on to the sites, they ask you to accept it.
The cookies.
Yeah. So you decide whether to accept it or
not
to accept it.
So now that this Facebook breach has happened, even though they've seen it and they probably patched it, do I need to change my password?
Yes, you do. Probably every 3 months.
Every 3 months?
Yeah.
That's a task.
I know some people who cannot remember the last password, let alone create a new one.
Those are the keys to your life.
So...
And you should have time to protect them.
So what would you advise, Kweku Che?
So, I mean, I've been reading on this thing a little bit, and it looks like this Facebook breach affected 50 million people.
Yeah.
And not just that, it also affected other applications, like as in Instagram and other applications. And so I think it's in total about 90 million people got affected. This access key is, I think it was the view as feature on Facebook that was exploited. And I think Facebook has deactivated that and intend to activate it back in the future once they fix all the issues. But I think that the change of password is important, or keep updating your password, because I know when I was in college in Georgetown, every, I think, 90 days or every 30 days or something like that, you have to change your password or else you lose your email. So if people are forced to do that, then probably these breaches might not happen. And also, I think it's also the responsibility of these big agencies to also protect the users as well. I can't think of an agency or a bank that has not been hit yet, right? So the hackers are also very active and also working hard to achieve their aim. So we also have to also think about what the next steps could be for us to be able to prevent these things. And I remember a conversation which we had somewhere in a cybersecurity conversation in Israel, where people are now focusing on the study of the psychology of cyber attacks, right? Why and how and what will lead people to do these kind of attacks and how they could prevent them in the future, just like terrorism and stuff like that. So these are some of the things that we have to start paying attention to, what will motivate people to do these things and how they will go about it, so that we can mitigate them in the future or find ways around them so that people don't get hit, because 90 million people is a lot, and it's an issue for us all. So we have to kind of pay attention to some of these things.
Now I know why I know you. Cito.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, reunion. So, Doc, this data breach happened. People panicked. Facebook stocks fell. Are we looking at the possible end of Facebook anytime soon? Because this has been a very terrible time for Facebook.
Absolutely no. I mean, if you look at the other, social networks that actually collapsed, the platforms like
High Five
and
MySpace.
Yeah, they were not that entrenched. Obviously they didn't create that business aspect of it, so it was that social. Now we have social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, that are very business, commercial. So that would lead to like the protection of it, because even for the American government, it is in their interest for for Facebook, Instagram, to thrive. Yeah. So I don't think it's going to go down because of that commerciality aspect. It's sort of penetrated, into our DNA. It's been very, very intrusive, into the core of society. I don't think they're going to. You would experience this kind of shocks, but definitely they will bounce back, especially when they pay attention to the kind of things that they're supposed to do. The security issues, the bullying, and all those things that's going on. But I'm sure they will turn around.
Winston.
Yeah.
So, you. Why are you laughing? You're the kind of person that would just wake up one day and say, I'm off Facebook.
I could. Okay, I haven't used Facebook. To be honest, I haven't used Facebook in a long time.
Which is the reason why I'm throwing this question to you. What kind of mindset would it take for someone to just wake up one day and say, I'm not doing Facebook? This is one thing that we're like Doc said, we are tied into. It is in our DNA right now. Because of Facebook login, I use Facebook to log into certain sites, certain platforms. I know Kwekwana is looking at me like, really, why would you do that? But this is what we do. And someone like you just wakes up one morning and says, I am not going to use Facebook again.
I feel like when it comes to Facebook, like Doc said, it's part of our lives. It's a business. So many businesses are running on. So those 50 million people, I know some businesses probably fell prey to it. But I feel like to just disconnect from Facebook, I don't think we really can. Because I think I read somewhere there was research about the fact that even if you are using Facebook passively, they were still obtaining information about you. Even to the point where you could sign in and they kind of already had information on you. You were wondering why. So as for detaching from Facebook, I could wake up one morning and say that I'm done with Facebook, and it could be because of many, many reasons. But I feel like the more you understand the scope of data breaches and everything, mid-range, if you understand the mid-range, that's when you panic and you would want to jump ship. But if you understand the full scope of it, you would know how to protect yourself and everything. So yeah, it's just panicking. You could panic and just bail, or maybe for personal reasons.
I asked this question because Instagram founders just up and left.
Because they've got their money.
Well, it's not about just
Yeah,
money. I think
they-
there's a little bit more than money.
Yeah, the guys, it's been bought out, isn't it? They've made money.
They
Well,
made money so they can just.
just
Up
Well,
and
they sold
leave.
it for 22 billion in 2014.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's made its investment.
that's a
I
lot of
mean,
money.
So
But then they walked away from about 850 million too, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So it's not. I don't think
So
it's only
ba-
about the money.
you know, they made it look like we are pioneers of privacy. We are, and same
with WhatsApp.
With WhatsApp founders, you know, we care so much
But-
about our users.
Yeah, I think it's a strategy. You know, we may not know the full fact of it, but it's a strategy. Sometimes the front line or the front guys have to quit
Fall back.
to have a new management as a way of informing people that
Mm.
we have a new management,
Yeah.
which is going to take into consideration these things and
And
rework
fix them.
in order to save the image.
Right.
of
Yeah,
the
that makes
business.
sense.
Yeah, so I don't think that they actually. Sometimes it could be like they've been pushed. You know, say guys, you've got to go, so that
Yeah.
we'll bring a new phase, new strategy, etc. You know,
Mm.
so
So it's not like
I'm not sure. they just, you know,
it was a strategy. Okay, so LinkedIn. Why would anybody hack LinkedIn? I want LinkedIn minding my own business as a
That's even the
businessman.
most
Oh,
Lucrative
yeah,
is the
Is
most.
it?
yeah,
it's very
it's
important.
very, very
It's
the most
crucial.
lucrative.
So that was a question that one of the questions that someone posted under the post where we're talking about like the data breach. Someone says, why would anybody hack LinkedIn? Because to them, what they're thinking about is when you're hacking someone, you're looking at the volume of data. And LinkedIn may not have as much data as Facebook. So why would anybody hit?
It has enough.
No, that's what they think.
Yeah, I agree.
Hmm?
But it's a value of the data. I mean, if you look at the site, LinkedIn
Yeah.
has the most, what do you call
Personal.
real
Yeah.
Yes.
data. You know,
Very
if you look
real.
at Facebook, and a lot of people lie on them.
Fictional. Yeah.
You know? But LinkedIn, because of the commerce aspect, because of the business aspect, a lot of people put actual data in there.
Yeah.
You know, where they work, etc. And so, if somebody wants to get to you, obviously, it's easier on the.
I mean, it's online CVs everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's very good data.
So now we're coming to the conversation of privacy. Personally, I think privacy is a myth. Yes, like Doc said, and that's how come I knew where he was going when he talked about the phone directory. I'm like, I grew up looking up phone numbers in the phone directory and prank calling people
Yeah, I
just
did
because their
that too.
names.
Exactly.
You know, so why do we all of a sudden wake up and say, hey,
So you're one of those kids who are fine.
yes, I'm not proud of it, but it sort of shaped me. Why would we then all of a sudden decide that, hey, we are private beings. Now we want to shy away from the public. We don't want people seeing what we're posting. We don't want people seeing what we're doing, or we want select people seeing all that. Should we really, really take privacy concerns seriously?
Well, I think we should.
Hmm.
You know, you should, because looking at the amount of efforts maybe a country like US may put in its security. Like for instance, when it's sending data, it will send about 70% junk, and just the 30% will be the real data. So copying it, meaning you can't even find the real data out of all those things,
Hmm.
and they spend a lot of money in just doing that. So that should tell you how privacy should
Be important.
Yeah, it's very, very
But
important.
this is the same country that is spying on its citizens.
No, it's a battle, and I think maybe Ghana is not ready to play in it because they are real soldiers. You know, Israel is the best now. You know, in cybersecurity, and they know that with cybersecurity, you need not fly a missile from one point to others. You can do a lot. You know, owning that spectrum.
So what does it mean to me to remain anonymous? As if that is actually a thing that exists. Say, like, can you actually be anonymous online?
Well, for me, I would just poison the data. The data I'm trying to put out there, I'll
You'll poison it.
Yes.
So basically, it's not your real name.
Yeah,
It's not your real
something,
face.
You
Blah blah.
just-
But then again, you registered for your internet with your original identification.
Yep.
So if I manage to track your IP back to you, I can get your identity, can't I?
Well, even in Ghana here, the IPs are not that dynamic.
So,
they flip over after changes and so on.
but if I manage to get your account, I know it's you.
Actually, addresses for here, no, they work like that.
Okay, so you believe in privacy.
Yeah, I believe in
And you believe
privacy,
it's
total
possible
privacy.
to be private online.
Yeah.
Okay. Quick, do you believe in privacy?
Yes, but we also have to focus on one thing, that cybersecurity is a big business. It is here to stay. We have to understand the scope of it so that we can take advantage of it and also protect ourselves. I do believe in privacy, but I also do believe strongly that if you don't want it out there, just don't put it on social media. Don't put it out. Just don't put it out there.
Don't digitize it,
Don't
basically.
digitize it. You know, it's better you just have it in your box somewhere. It's not online, and that's the best way. Because once you put it out on any electronic platform, it's a signature that's out there for a long time to come. So it's cheaper to protect yourself by not putting out information that one day might come back to bite you. So our advice, yes, security is real. People are making money off our data. The reason why all these fights are going on in Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and everybody else is they're fighting over us. Our data is what's very key to them. That's what they're making their money from. So we are their business. So you should understand that they need us to thrive. And henceforth, our security is also crucial. We also have to find ways in which we can protect ourselves, especially our kids, because I believe that the kids that are born into computers are so vulnerable than those who are not born into computers, like my grandfather and stuff like that. You might never find an electronic signature of him. You can find a paper signature, yes, but you can never find his electronic signature because probably he never logged on to any computer. So that would probably not be the best way to track him. But for those who are into it or yet to be part of it, they have a long way to go, and henceforth, that is what Facebook and the rest are dying over, because that information is what they'll use to make decisions as to what they should sell to Ghanaians, what Ghanaians like, how they can make money out of Ghana, what will work and what will not work in Ghana, how Ghanaians will even tend to vote or not to vote, which candidate is most likely how to vote for them, who they are most likely to vote just by the data which they're collecting on us, which is very critical. What cars we intend to drive, what kind of things we like, what kind of food, what kind of clothing. The next generation are going to be part of this conversation, and that is extremely critical that we pay attention to this. We know how we protect the next generation of kids, because they are going to be born into computers, and we have to find a way to protect them. To pay attention to that.
Winston, you're very, very, aggressively agreeing with what Quick was saying.
Well, when you said that you feel like privacy is a myth, I'm on the fence on the matter, but I really support what Quick said in terms of the next generation, because personally I feel like we've gotten to a point where they have enough data on us. Yeah. It pretty much wouldn't make much of a difference, or maybe progressively it could if your tastes do change significantly. But right now, even Alexander Nix, the executive of Cambridge, he said they have 4,000 to 5,000 data points per person, in the United States of America. So they know you better than your friends. That is a big deal. And that means right now you are vulnerable. You already are.
But that's where I have a problem. When people think that there's a vulnerability in your data being out there, as in like your identity being out there. For instance, I find it more convenient that I find things that I like around where I roam versus not. Trust me, would you like to see an ad that you really do not want to see?
I mean, so there's a typical case, I believe, that happened in the US, I think some years back, where somebody got a notification, a lady, that she was pregnant before she knew she was pregnant.
The company actually sent her
a kit.
A kit, pregnancy kit, and the father was like, "What's up with this?" I think
so think about it. If we are all electronically connected, right? We are getting to smart cars now. We are very excited. We are doing mobile money now. We are doing online transactions. We are sending emails. Now these days, even if you look at your Gmail, you can just click on receive thanks and that means your emails are kind of read. So think about it. Before you wake up and you bought cereal and milk last night, now we can tell that when you wake up in the morning, you're most likely to eat cereal and drink milk, right? If you have a smart car and you keep playing this X amount of music, now I can tell if you like hip hop, you like jazz, or you like hip life. Right, and if you drive 5 hours a day and you spend X amount of fuel, I can tell you that you're leaving from Accra to Kumasi, or you're stuck in Accra, depending on your speed in which you're going, where you could be in Ghana, right? So these are data that we can collect after a period of time, and decisions could be made on this information, especially the young ones, especially those in universities and stuff like that. If you spend your money or you use mobile money to buy this amount of books, or you buy a ticket for a concert, I know, okay, maybe you like Kojonchi better than you like Sarkodie, or like Sarkodie better than you like X or so. So these are the data in which we should start thinking about, and how it's being collected and how decisions are being made, because all those clicks and likes on Facebook gives an impression of what you like, and that's what will lean towards and market towards you, and that decision could be made somehow. So yeah, it's very important.
Well, for me, when it comes to data security, I think we should rather be much more afraid as a collective than as an individual.
Yeah, true.
As a collective, obviously, we're talking about cyber warfare, countries engaging in all this. But for individual, if you're not going to run for president, why do you have to care?
Exactly.
That's a kidding.
So we'll go for a commercial break, and then when we come back, Doc, you'll expand sheets on that. So Geek Squad is brought to you by Safe Doctor. Download the Safe Doctor app from the Google Play Store. Safe Doctor, the future for better medical care.
Hello, emergency service. I need an ambulance. It's an emergency.
We are sorry. One is not available now.
How do I get one now? My wife is in pain. Oh.
Easy. Easy. Like 1, 2, 3. Pick your phone. Download the Call Angel
Not the president, not his vice, not any minister, no member of parliament or any minister is offering any jobs of any kind on social media or on any medium. If you want a job, there's a process in which you apply for jobs, you go through interviews, and if you are qualified, you get a job. So please, nobody should lie to you, nor scam you, or any means to collect a dime from you on social media and tell you that they're offering you a job. It is not true. So do not buy into that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, so you heard Kweku. It is not true. Do not. In fact, me, myself, I'm not even offering jobs there. Yeah, I mean, someone hits me up asking me for a job.
Well, Spicy, if I can also put something across.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The final words.
some of the serious things, you
Yeah.
know. Actually, we were talking about data and so on and so forth. But, you know, for example, children being online, you know, and so forth and so on. You will find this information where there is a challenge online where people set themselves on fire and quickly jump into water and so on. Like the ice bucket challenge when people join. You know, there are a lot of...
What is it called?
The coupe challenge.
The coupe challenge.
Yeah, you
Or
know,
the Kiki challenge.
Yeah.
These are dangerous things and people are trying it, you know. So just
I mean,
look
there
at
was
that.
the Tide Pod challenge.
Oh,
and
yeah,
all
that was
very
interesting.
dangerous.
Yeah, I see those things much more dangerous.
Well,
Very, very, very seriously dangerous.
Oh, really?
so on that note, people really have to be careful on social media. We will have a cybersecurity, conversation, as this is Cybersecurity Month. And until then, my name is Kobe Spiky Nkrumah. This has been Geek Squad, and with me has been Kweku Anansi, Kweku Cheofori, KKKO, and Dr. Kobe Mensah. Winston,
What's good?
thank you, regular guys, for joining us, and thank you, Doc,
Thanks.
for your insights. We will be with you again next week. My producer, Dela Glanu, Abeku Sankofi, and Dennis the Fairboy, thank you for holding me down. See you guys next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Hello, emergency service.